Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Corey Daharsh, and my guest speaker today is Jerome Lewis, and we're here to bring you profitable persistence, improving investor relationships. Again, I'm Corey Daharsh. I'm a business development specialist with Advanta IRA. I've been on the team for about 7 years now, working both in the back office as a client account manager, processing day-to-day investment transactions, and now working as a business development specialist where I network, work with different capital raisers and syndicators, and help just pass the information and knowledge of self-direction along to our audience and other investment providers that can benefit from tapping into their investors' retirement funds. My guest speaker today is Jerome Lewis. He is the founder and CMO of Digital Real Estate Strategy. Jerome is a #1 national best-selling author. He is the lead host of the Real Estate Marketing Podcast and author of 12-plus books, including his best-selling book, Real Estate Marketing Implementation. Is a founder and CMO of Digital Real Estate Strategy, a tech and marketing agency that helps real estate entrepreneurs implement, structure, and systematize their tech, lead generation, marketing implementation, and business systems. Jerome has worked with over 7,864 real estate entrepreneurs from over more than 40 states. Jerome has shared stages and worked with some of the real estate industry's best national experts, including names ranging from Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington, Vina Jones-Cox, Krista Mayshore, Matt Faircloth, and the legendary Ron LeGrand, and many, many more. Jerome is a bold introvert, father, and former IT professional. In 2021, Jerome won eXp University's Instructor of the Year award. He's also a host of the Real Estate Marketing Social Media Mastermind, where he teaches real estate investors in agent tech and marketing implementation. Jerome, thank you very much for joining us today. I've got your email address and your LinkedIn here in the slide, but if you want to provide any other contact information or anything else to add to your resume and your background, please feel free to address the audience now.
Yeah, sure. For anybody that's here, if you want to learn more about me, you can catch me on LinkedIn or visit my personal website, which is jeromelewis.com. That's it, Corey.
Awesome. All right, well, we are on to the next slide now that we've covered our introductions. Just some basic information about Advanta IRA. We've been in business for 20 years now. All of our clients that have funds with us, those money are insured up to FDIC limits until they're actually placed into an investment. And of such, we've got about $2.3 billion in assets under management right now held by our clients. Each client we have is paired with a dedicated client account manager, so we do offer white glove level customer service for our clients that are using self-directed strategies. It's very important I pass this brief disclaimer along. We do not provide any tax, legal, or financial advice at Advanta IRA. We're simply experts in what the IRS will or will not allow you to do with your retirement account. We share that expertise with you and let you, as the account holder, make your own investment decisions. So again, please consult your own CPAs, attorneys, and tax advisors. Everything that Jerome and I are going to be talking about today is strictly for educational purposes. Now, when we're talking about self-directed accounts, a lot of the retirement accounts that you probably already have can be self-directed. So you're probably familiar with your traditional or Roth IRAs and 401k plans or 403bs, 457, TSP plans. Well, if you have one of those employer plans and you've left that employment, you can roll that money into a Roth or a traditional IRA to self-direct. If you're a small business owner or self-employed and generate self-employment income, you can actually have a solo 401k or a SEP or simple IRA to cover your small businesses. And you can also self-direct education or health savings accounts. So if those things apply, maybe you're someone with a high deductible health policy, or you have a young one that you'd like to set aside money for their educational expenses, those plans can also be self-directed where you're generating better returns than you could otherwise potentially have in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Now, it's really easy for me to tell you what the IRS will not allow you to invest into because the asset classes and things you can invest into are so broad. It's really only limited that you cannot invest into life insurance policies or hard to value collectibles like antiques, fine wine, artwork. Aside from that, you can usually structure a retirement account investment into any other asset class you may have interest or expertise in so that you can drive those returns higher than other options available to you that you may not be as familiar with or know how to navigate as well. The only other thing that the IRS does to restrict how you invest with these accounts is label certain individuals as disqualified persons. Now, that's going to be yourself, your spouse, your parents, and your children, so your lineal descendants and ascendants, and or any businesses that they own or control 50% stake or more of. If you're in that class or any individual you want to invest with is in that class, it's likely you shouldn't be making that investment where you're buying a piece of property or lending to a disqualified person. You can partner with those people in your retirement account, but you can't sit on the opposite side of a deal from them. Again, Advanta's experts in this, so reach out if you have questions and we'll be very happy to help you further and let you relate to your investment strategies, how that would work out. So why do people switch to self-directing? They determine it's a new source of capital, so they hear a presentation like this and decide, oh, I can actually invest more into the syndication that I originally wanted to, or I'm doing real estate investing and now I have more money I can drop into this fix and flip project. They get tired of the stock market fatigue, the fluctuations and up and downs of the stock market, just not really knowing what's going to happen around the next turn based on geopolitical information and the status of the climate of the country. And then the tax benefits as well. It's very tax advantaged to utilize retirement accounts for investing. You're either generating tax deferred or completely tax-free income with these retirement investing strategies. And if you have not heard about self-directed investing, that's actually very common. Only about 4% of retirement accounts in the US are self-directed. So we're really looking at a $40 trillion a year industry that only about 4% of people are tapping into the self-directed side of that. It's very easy to tap into this money and move it to a self-direct account. It's usually not reported on tax purposes, and it's usually a very simple process that only takes about a week or so. Conservative estimate, you can give yourself 2 weeks to get a brand new account set up and funded, ready to make your first investment. The way that this works is if you have an existing account and you want to move money into the same type of account, that's handled via a custodian to custodian transfer. You fill out one document, we submit it, and the process typically takes about a week. If you have a previous employer plan, like I mentioned earlier, a 401k, a 403b, a 457, or a TSP plan, you can initiate a distribution for rollover, and what often people call as a rollover IRA. You move those funds into an IRA account. There is some taxable reporting when you do this, but there is no taxable consequence as long as the amount you move flows right into a new retirement account that's qualified funds. Now, for those capital raisers out there and people that are actually looking to raise money through retirement dollars from investors, Advanta offers a few complimentary resources. So we have a partner flyer that we can prepare for you with your branding, your logo, information about your business that really just says how simple it is to start self-directing and lets your network get back a hold of you or reach out to me directly if they have questions and want to get started. If that be the process, I would open the account and let them know and let you know once the account's set up and ready to invest so we can coordinate further. We also have a dedicated URL landing page we can set up that lets people even access the application right then and there. So feel free to reach me directly if you're interested in a complimentary partner page or a URL landing page for your business that you're capital raising for. Again, it's very simple to get these accounts open, funded, and investing. It takes about 15 minutes to complete our application. Getting the funds moved over typically takes a week to 2 weeks tops, and then you could start investing with whatever deals you may have found, whatever syndicators or groups you may be planning to invest with, and it's very simple and easy. Please feel free to reach out if I can help you to that effect with anything. We have a lot of educational content like these webinars that you can access for free on our YouTube page or through our podcast, the Alternative Investing Advantage podcast. So feel free to check out our content if you want any other educational information. And with that being said, I'm actually ready to turn it over to Jerome, who's going to take over with his portion of the presentation, the real meat and potatoes that we're getting into today on profitable persistence. Jerome, I'm giving you the presentation power right now. So as soon as you get that up and running, I've got your screen. I'm looking at it right now, and you should be ready to go. And actually, real quick, I forgot to mention this thus far. For our audience, we are going to keep the audience muted, but we do want active participation. If you're looking at your GoToWebinar panel, there's a box labeled questions. Please feel free to use the question box. I will ask those to Jerome as he's presenting, as long as they relate to his slides and what he's covering. If you have questions that don't necessarily relate in the moment, we're going to hold those to the end, and I'll pose all of those to Jerome at the end of his presentation. But please, we encourage you to actively participate. If you have questions, let us know, and we will be very happy to address them. Sorry, and with that being said, Jerome, the floor is yours.
Corey, thank you so much. I appreciate you for setting this up. And for the audience, one of the things that I like to do is I like to encourage engagement and participation, similar to what Corey was saying. So from time to time, I'm going to ask you to type in the chat. I have a lot of information to cover, and typically people tell me that I talk fast. And the reason why I talk fast is because I want to give you as much information as possible. And I don't want to just sell you dreams. I want you to understand that this is realistic. I'm really big on implementation. So to get things started, please type yes in the chat, so we can move forward on the next slide. I want to see some engagement in that chat. I like to get a 50% engagement, so I want to see 50% of the room type yes in that chat.
We've got someone that's got their hand up right now. For the individual that raised their hand, please use the chat. We don't have a way to unmute to coordinate that. We've got our first yes.
Okay, thank you, Corey. So profitable persistence, improve investor relationships. What I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you some of the strategies that I help my clients employ. I run a digital marketing agency for real estate entrepreneurs, and we help them build marketing systems, follow up, etc. Right? We help them do many things, and I'm going to show you a piece of that system of how you can apply the same thing to your business, how you can get more clients, more investors, etc. That's my objective today. All right, so why am I talking about this? Because I've realized over my experience and over the years that most people in business, most people don't know about them. And a big part of the reason why people don't know about them is because they don't follow up and they don't persist enough, right? So on my screen, you see in yellow, most people give up after the first attempt of contacting someone. And when you're running a business, you're trying to invest with someone, or you're trying to get someone to invest a significant amount of money, you need to follow up, right? You got to make sure you follow up. That's the biggest mistake that we make. We don't follow up. We have to show up. So I'm going to show you how you can follow up and develop a strategy where you can follow up automatically and consistent. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. So who is Jerome Lewis? Those are my baby pictures there. I just want to give you some background so you can understand that anybody can do this, right? I've been through a lot, and I want to show you, right? So I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, particularly I'm from South Philly. I was dropped on my head as a child, right? My father was an alcoholic, and I just recently learned this year that I've remembered everything. I remember everything about that, and it affected my life. I used to be very shy. I'm still introverted, right? And shy and introversion, that's not the same thing. I used to be very shy, but here I am presenting. I'm a national speaker. I'm a best-selling author. So I'm going to show you what's possible when you implement the right things. I was bullied in elementary, and I was abused as a child, and I was a product of a single mother. My father was not around because he was abusive to my mother. And about 7 years old, I was taken away from my mother, and that traumatized me, right? I just learned that traumatized me a little bit earlier this year too. So that picture on the right, that is me, my mother, and my father. When he took me away from my mother, I was put through foster care, and I developed all this anger and bitterness. I started getting in trouble and being involved in gangs, and my life was just a mess. But then, eventually, when I became an adult, at about 19, I had a child. I had a son. I had my son. I think it was 21 actually, and now I'm a father of four, and having my son has helped me grow and change to become a better person. So next, I want to point out something very obvious, right? I am Black, and I still get discriminated against, right? People still discriminate. Somebody just discriminated against me yesterday. and I'm still persisting, right? So the importance and the theme today is like, make sure you persist and make sure you follow up. I'm also a real estate investor and real estate agent. I got my start in wholesaling. I might tell you about that a little bit later. And last but not least, I'm a real estate instructor and a #1 best-selling author. So what you're seeing on the screen here, these are the books. You heard Corey mentioning some of these when he was giving my bio. I have published over 20 books now, and most of my books are around the topics of real estate and marketing, right? So those are my books there. These are some things that I'm very proud of. I've done a lot of things, public speaking, selling courses. I have clients for thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but one of the best things that I've done over my life is I've published a book, and my kids and some of the people that come from my family, they'll be around to see these things, okay? But what I appreciate even more is my client successes. So these are some of my clients that I help publish books as well. So this is something that I really enjoy now, and this is something that I do. I help people nonfiction, right? I help people create nonfiction books to talk about and demonstrate what it is that they do in their business. All right, now let's get into like some of the main content, right? So it is important today that you don't just sit around and receive this information as a lecture, right? It is highly important that you try to involve yourself and make sure you utilize your ability to take notes. And I'm not just talking about screenshots. I'm not just talking about typing everything in. I'm talking about legitimately writing things down. And this is a tweet from Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he had guests on his podcast, and they validated and verified the importance of actually writing down your goals and your objectives. It makes a significant difference. So today, while you're participating, please feel free to take notes and write things down. This is how you're going to retain and implement the best information, by actually legitimately writing things down and seeing them in your own handwriting. All right, so what I'm going to show you today is the ultimate real estate marketing implementation system, is what I call it. And I'm going to show you today a way where you can make this, right? Because a lot of us have like issues with money. I'm going to show you a way where you can make this pay for itself, essentially. And a core component of that is that book that I talked about, like having a book, but you don't need to have a book. I find that it's the best way to do it, but I'm going to show you how you can implement this in a way that makes sense. So you're not putting out money that's not coming back to you, right? The name of our presentation is investing, right? And when we invest, we want to make a return on our investment, and we help you set up business systems that give you an investment like that. Okay. All right, so I run a weekly class where I teach other agents how to instill some of this stuff in their business, and I like to call it your battle plan to properly equip yourself with the right expert tools so you stand out as an expert real estate professional and you attract high quality clients, customers, and prospects. All of this without seeming salesy, slimy, pushy, or desperate. That's the objective today. I want you to have the same tools. I want you to be able to offer things to people without seeming salesy, slimy, pushy, or desperate, right? I want you to be able to attract people that want to invest in you, invest in your company, and you do the same with them. All right, so who this is not for? This is not for anybody that is lazy, anybody that's a slacker, a know-it-all, something for nothing mentality. They're a people creeper just sitting around. They don't want to participate. If you're a doubter or a non-believer, this is not for you. And this is certainly not for anybody that expects overnight success. So you heard Corey talking about investing, right? The whole theme of today is investing. We don't always get immediate results when we invest, but if we set things up strategically and properly, we do get a return, and we can mitigate the possibilities of a loss, right? So don't expect overnight success. I'm going to show you how to get some quick wins, but don't expect overnight success. It's just not realistic in business. Now, who this is for people that want direct answers and direct results. This is for people that are willing to put in the work, people that are willing to invest, right? There's that word again, people that are willing to invest in themselves. And then my fellow introverts, right? So I mentioned that I was shy and introverted. I'm still introverted. So it takes a lot out of me sometimes to present. I appreciate it. I enjoy it, but I'm an introvert. I handle my energy and I handle my presentations differently, right? And I know there are some people that can identify with introversion. If you're an introvert yourself, I would like to see you like type that in the chat, like type introvert in the chat if you're an introvert. All right, so this is a quote. I like to help people understand, like you can't have it all, right? And a good example is like in your business, in your life, which one do you want? Do you want results or do you want reasons why you couldn't do it, right? Do you want implementation or do you want inaction so you can't move forward? Do you want progress or do you want perfection? Right. So a big struggle that people have is they want to be perfectionists, and that just doesn't happen in business. It doesn't happen in life. You have to be moving. You have to be taking action. This is highly important. All right, so anybody, can you type in the chat? Can anybody take a guess at what this is on the screen? what is this on the screen that you're seeing here?
Jerome, we've gotten a few that did label as introverts, so we do have
Okay.
some similarity there, and along with you there, I'm waiting for answer on the current slide.
Okay. All right. So here's what we see on the screen is, just so you know, this is Apple's very first computer, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because sometimes we freeze and we get paralyzed and we want things to be perfect, and that's just not how life works. So what you saw there was the very first Apple computer, right? It is by no means an attractive thing, but they had to get it out. They had to get it out to the market, right? They had to persist and continue to work on and develop the product. We all know what Apple computers look like and the Apple devices. We understand what they look like now, but this was the first version of that. And they had to persistently improve it. They had to consistently improve it. Okay. So I just wanted to show that because I saw it and I was like, wow, that looks nothing like something Apple did. All right. Everything that I'm going to showcase today comes from practical and real world experiences. I run a marketing agency for real estate professionals, and we help with everything around lead generation, tech, marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads, social media, websites, funnels, landing pages. We can help you with any of those things. So the stories and the strategies that I'm going to show you all come from that real world experience. All right. Here's how you get the most out of this training. Make sure you take notes, as I stated before, but take some screenshots as well. I want to tell you how you can get access to the slides because I also have a lot of resources embedded directly in the slides. I'm going to tell you how you can get that a little bit later. It does require action, right? So I don't just give the slides away. I like to give the slides away to action takers, people that actively participate. So inside of the slides, you're going to see these little icons, right? You see the link right there. You see the video. Those are just different resources for you to access. So when you collect the slides, it's going to be a PDF, and that means you can click on a particular resource inside of that slide, and it's yours to utilize. Now, warning, like I stated before, I talk a little bit fast because I want to deliver as much information as possible. But the cool thing is that this is being recorded and you can watch the recording a little bit later, right? You can slow it down, you can speed it up. Some people might think I talk a little bit too slow. The cool thing is that it's going to be a recording so you can watch it later. Okay, so keep that in mind. You might miss something. You can watch the recording a little bit later, and you're also going to have the ability to access the slides. This is a guide that you will watch later, you can use later, and so you can have a better idea on how to use the slides. I also have a YouTube channel, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I appreciate anybody know that man there, Corey Daharsh, handsome gentleman. He was a guest on my podcast in the past. I have a video podcast, and I've hosted it on my YouTube channel. So this is a resource for you to utilize and go watch. I want you to watch that episode so you can learn on how to invest in retirement accounts. Next, Advanta also has a podcast, and they feature me as a guest on their podcast. And this is episode number 59, so I encourage you to go check out that episode as well. And then lastly, another podcast episode, right? So and you see my upside down picture. People always ask me, Jerome, you know your picture is upside down? Yes, it is a marketing tactic that I use. But this is the podcast episode number 59 that I just mentioned. Advanta was nice enough to give me access to the video of that particular podcast. And this is also hosted on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you to go check out those podcast episodes on the Advanta channel as well as YouTube. All right, so only 3% of people are ready to buy now and at any given moment in business, right? That's just how it is. So if you're not following up with people enough, you're missing out. If only 3% of people follow up, that means a majority of the people that we're contacting, they're going to say no. That's more than 95% of people that's just going to say no. So it's more important that you follow up consistently and persistently. And I'm going to show you how you can do that today. But these are stats and these are statistics that verify we must follow up with customers and prospects, right? We're all busy. We get busy, all right? Branding and marketing, I just like to showcase this slide. The biggest thing that I want you to take away here is that marketing is predictable, right? Branding is not. Marketing is predictable. It's something you can sit down, you can put in a spreadsheet, you can analyze, you can find out, okay, if I make 20 contacts, I'm going to get 1 lead as an example. So keep that in mind. Marketing is predictable. Branding, not so much, but both are essential. Now, social media age demographics. I'm an instructor and I teach social media, and people always ask me, what's the best thing to do? It really depends on who it is that you're trying to serve. So social media age demographics, right here, what you're seeing, this big red box, this highlights that 80% of the social media crowd is under 50 years old. And then the second box highlights that 20% of the social media crowd is 50 plus, right? And I created this slide because it's relevant to what we're doing today. Most of the people that want, like, the people that have the most money, they're older, right? So you can see that by this screen, right? You can see the net worth rise as people get older. And I want you to keep this in mind, especially being on a webinar about using retirement accounts. Okay, so keep this in mind when you're marketing. Like, social media has its place, but you have to think about who it is that you're trying to market to. And the strategies that I'm going to show you today, right, they might not directly apply to social media. They might not directly apply to having a website. You got to go find these people where they are. And older people there, they don't tend to be on social media. All right, so knowledge is power. Can you type in the chat, like, do you agree with that? Yes or no? Like, let me know in the chat if you agree or not. And it's actually it's a trick question, because knowledge is not power. You know why? Because if you don't apply that knowledge, it's not power, right? Applied knowledge is power. So we're missing context when we hear people say knowledge is power. It is not power until you apply it. This is when knowledge becomes power. So you hear me talking about implementation a lot. Jerome, what's the big deal about implementation? This is a graph that I like. So some people like it, some people don't, but I find this is an excellent way to emphasize the importance of implementation, right? The more we implement, the more active we are, the more we learn, the more we retain. So this is why I'm encouraging you to take notes, be engaged and involved in the presentation, right? Because the more we involve ourselves, the more we learn. Now, do me a favor, and I want to take a sip of water. Type yes in the chat if you are ready to move forward and learn about profitable persistence. Please type yes in that chat for me.
Let's see, we've got 3, 4, 5 yeses coming through. We've got, yep, they're filtering in.
All right, perfect. I like the engagement. Engagement is essential. Thank you, Corey.
Yep.
So the power of storytelling, the most powerful person in the world is a storyteller. And I showed you that computer a little bit earlier. That was by Steve Jobs and Apple, right? So this quote is relevant, and sometimes reality is too complex. Stories give it form. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story so you can start to understand why I'm trying to show you what I'm trying to show you today. Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas in the world today. Right? Those are just some excellent quotes about the importance of storytelling. And you keep this in mind too, because we as entrepreneurs and people that are trying to get into self-development, personal development, we have the struggle of giving people all information. Sometimes they want to hear a story. Sometimes they want to hear about us personally. And stories help you do that. All right, so this is me here. My name is Jerome Lewis. You already know. This is me about 14 years ago, I think. And I was working in retail. I was working at the store Pathmark. And I was working here, and people would curse me out every day. They cursed me out so much that they gave me a headache. Every day I left this job, I had a headache. And I was traveling about 2 hours just to get to this job. 2 hours there, 2 hours back on the bus. I didn't appreciate that, so I wanted to find another job, and I did, and I found another job in what's called an office space. And while I was looking for the job, I was attending school, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to find some practical skills. And the practical skills that I went to apply for were computer skills. So I had those skills, and while I was going to school, I was here at this job, and then another position opened up. You can see it right there in the middle. That was an IT job. It was a data center that I was working for, so I applied for that job, and they let me in. But while I was at this job, my skills were I had so many skills, and my manager became insecure, and I was like really helping the company grow, really helping the department grow. And you can see at the top of the screens, it said, just blank, do it. And my manager would curse at me. He would curse at me because he didn't appreciate how well I was doing. And then I had a friend, his name was Mike, and he asked me if I read. He told me to read this book. And in this book, I discovered that I was outshining the master. That's the first law in the book. It says, never outshine the master. So I realized that my natural talent and my natural ability was making that manager insecure. So because he cursed me out and because I didn't appreciate that, I said, you know what? I don't appreciate this kind of environment. I want to find something else. And that's where I discovered the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I researched financial freedom and I found the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, you know what? I want to get involved in real estate, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today. This is me here with Robert Kiyosaki. I took some pictures with him, and like I told you a little bit earlier, I didn't go into the detail, but the book is what led me here. Like me being a published author is what led me to meeting Robert Kiyosaki and having the opportunity to meet him. At that time, when I decided to get in real estate, I learned everything that I could learn in a book, and it was time to take action. And I was like, you know what? Like in the book, it suggested that you find coaches, mentors, advisors, and I went to do that. I went to Google, I found meetup.com, and I met a mentor. And he told me that his price was $3,000. So it took me 2 years. 2 years. I didn't have $3,000. It took me 2 years to save up $3,000 to take that mentor's coaching. So I did that. I took his coaching. I started part-time. And while I started, I was riding the bus and I only had a bicycle. I didn't even have a car. I didn't learn to drive until I was 26. However, I implemented what he told me to do. I was doing wholesaling and I got my first deal. And that's what got me legitimately into real estate. Because of that, I was doing some network. I was still doing networking, and you can see the guy on the very left over there. I met him. His name is Jay, and Jay introduced me to this company. He was like, "Hey, we got this new company coming up. I think you would be really good." And that company was EXP Realty. EXP Realty. So I'm a licensed agent. While I was there, I wanted to learn how to market, so I attended classes regularly, social media, how to market your business, etc. And then one of the instructors eventually left. The instructor left, and the lady on the very far left, she asked, "Is there anybody here that's willing to step up and teach?" And I volunteered. I said, "Yes, I would be happy to teach. I'm just going to show what I do in my business, but we'll see how it goes." I was willing to do it scared. I wasn't a professional by any means, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this scared. Eventually, right, I was elected as EXP Instructor of the Year because I was willing to step up and teach, right? And I think a large majority of this is because I was willing to show up. It wasn't really, I do have some skills, I do have some talents, but I think most of it is because I was willing to show up. All right, I'm going to skip this slide. All right, and while I was I was working for a local RIA too, which I didn't mention, and they introduced me to a group called RMG, which is RIA Mastermind Group, and I met this lady here, Vina Jones-Cox, and she said, "Jerome, what do you do?" I was doing Facebook advertising for real estate at the time, and she said, "Could you come teach that to my audience?" I said, "Yes," and that was voted as the top non-selling speech at the event, right? And this is a moment that I really appreciate. I appreciate Vina for giving me that opportunity. Since then, I've been like all over like the nation and other countries speaking and talking about the topics that I'm going to talk about with you today. And you can kind of see there, this is my book. And one of the things you'll often hear me say is version 1 is better than version 9. So I became #1 best-selling author, but this is what my book first looked like. It was not a pretty book, right? And then I kept upgrading it, right? So you can see here, persistence. I got it out to the market. It wasn't perfect, but I continued to persist and get it out there, right? The theme today is persistence. I met Ron LeGrand, and I asked him, "Hey, Ron, would you be willing to publish a foreword for my book?" And he said yes. All right, so enough about me. Who's ready to delve deeper into the importance of like profitable persistence? I'm going to show you how you can use what I call the ultimate follow-up asset to gain more business. So type yes in the chat. I want to take a sip of water while we get those yeses going. Corey, we have any questions yet?
No questions yet, but the yeses are flowing in faster than they were last time. We are ready to roll.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so profitable persistence, improve investor relationships by investing in your relationships. Email, I like to call this email hell, right? So do me a favor and in the chat, like type in like how many emails do you get per day? What does your email inbox look like? I was working with a woman and she pulled up her email and she had 50,000. I think that's the most I've seen so far. Like personally, I've heard some people talk about different emails, but I've seen 50,000 unread emails in this woman's inbox.
We've got 30, we've got 50 to 100. We've got another person that said about 50. Oh, someone said 300. So
dang. That's a lot of emails. Do you look forward to them? Like type yes in the chat. Do you look forward to receiving all those unread emails? Yes, no. Some people might. I know I don't.
So far, a couple no's come in.
No,
Another no.
Okay.
For the most part, no.
Yeah, no, we don't really like those. So mostly I Like, what are they? Like, they're like informational. It contains a bunch of content. We don't even really know what they are. But I pose this question to you: is it fun? Like, does it give you a fun theme? Like your emails, those inboxes, and the things that you're receiving. Is that fun? Next, is it relational? Right? Are these emails building a relationship for you, or do they feel automated? Like, type in the chat. I want to know like who's feeling like they're building a relationship, and who's feeling like these emails are just automated and they're ignoring them generally.
Someone said automated. Someone said feels like trash.
Okay.
50-50. Those are the.
Okay.
So I ignore. LOL.
Okay. Excellent. So, how much physical mail, like print mail, do you receive each day? What is that like? Is it 50? Is it 100? Like, is it a lot less? I want to see how many emails how much print email you're receiving, print mail you're receiving.
5 to 10 a week. Someone also
Right.
said sometimes about 30% of their emails build relationships. So that's an
Okay.
actual thought.
Nice.
Yeah, 5 to 10 a week on print mail, 2 to 3 a
Okay.
day mail. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, one of the key reasons I'm asking about that is because this is how we're going to stand out, right? I want to talk about how you can stand out and appear to be different than everyone else. Like, in general, most of the emails, they feel automated, right? And when we go print, it doesn't feel as automated. And the other thing about print, like which I'm about to show you, like receiving stuff to your inbox, is that it takes an investment. So most people are not going to send it if they're not investing time, effort, and energy into sending you something, all right? So this is a case study, right? This is an example. This is a really successful company. This company is Agora Financial, and their revenue, the profit they make, is estimated to be, or their value is estimated to be between 500 million and 1 billion. It's hard to figure out exactly what it is, but right, at minimum, 500 million is a lot, right? What they do, they're a publishing company. They publish books, they publish letters, email newsletters, and print newsletters. And this is what we're going to cover today. So, overview, high-level overview. These are the things that we're going to talk about. This is why I'm zooming, because I want to deliver as much as I can in this short amount of time. But this is generally what we're going to talk about today, right? I'm going to show you like the strategy that you can apply, what I call the ultimate marketing asset, and then I'm going to tell you what you need for implementation. Now, so emails, right? So some people 50, 100, like all those numbers that we got in our inbox, like that stuff is important, right? Because it's like if nobody in their right mind is going to go through all those emails and read them and digest them or look forward to receiving them. So what you're seeing on my screen, right? What I call the ultimate marketing asset, the ultimate follow-up asset is a newsletter, right? So you see on my screen, that is my newsletter. This is a physical newsletter that I send my customers and my prospects. And I was talking to, actually at the end of an Advanta call, I had somebody called me, contacted me from Pitch, Promote, and Prosper. And he was like, okay, what do you do? And I let him know. Somehow we talked about the newsletter. He said, you know what? I have not received one of those in years. That's actually really impressive. I don't get those, right? So I give people physical newsletters in my business so I can inform them and update them and let them know what it is that I'm doing in my business. And this is a way that I follow up with them consistently. Physical newsletters, okay? Digital is okay. Most people are going to try to go only digital, but keep in mind, like think about yourself. Are you really appreciating those emails? Not really. Are you really going through those emails? Not really. So this is what we're talking about today, the ultimate follow-up asset. It is a newsletter, a physical print newsletter. Now, newsletters. Why newsletters? Because here are the reasons. Newsletters are seen as news and publication, not advertising. So most of the time when we're trying to do business with somebody, we're advertising. We're being very salesy, very markety, right? Newsletters, not the case. These are seen as publication and information. They're not seen as advertising. Next, newsletter will help you build trust. A physical newsletter, it helps you build trust because you have to be a real company in order to be sending these things out to people, okay? Next, it's going to help you build relationships. So you can include different parts of information inside your newsletter and start to build a relationship. And you can strategically structure it in a way that helps you build relationships and build trust. Publishing news makes you an expert and an authority, right? So a lot of us know what the news is and we watch the news and we generally, right? Generally, most people trust the news, right? Most people trust the news and they see the news as an authority. You got some people that hates the news and hates the media, but the news and the media is still seen as an authority, right? So this is why newsletters, this is why we want to instill newsletters. All right, some demonstrations, right? Like why newsletters? What are some things that you can do with newsletters? So the cool thing is that a newsletter doesn't have to be a lot, right? You can highlight success stories, right? So here we go. Highlight success stories. You can show referrals. You're putting all this news in there, right? Think about the news. When you're watching the news, they show a variety of different media, a variety of different things, topics, good things, bad things, what's going on in the city. Like, so your newsletter can be news. It doesn't have to be all informational. I'm going to talk about that in detail a little bit later. Next, your newsletter will increase people's willingness to do business with you. So I just recently had a call this week. I always try to bring up like the most relevant information or the most relevant topics. Just had a call this week, and a gentleman that I used to work with at my company, EXP Realty, he said, Jerome, I really appreciate you sending me these newsletters. I want you to do a speech for my agents on marketing. And I said, sure. Right. And I forgot that I was even in contact with this guy, but he contacted me automatically because I have these newsletters going out to him in the mail. Right. And they're not getting deleted at the snap of a button. He has to pick it up and physically handle it. Right. This is one of the benefits of a newsletter. Next, the most expensive part of your advertising and marketing is customer acquisition. So the toughest and the most expensive part of business is to get and acquire a client, right? Once you've gained and acquired that client, you want to follow up with that client. And this newsletters is the way that you do that. And it's the way that you do that with a low sales pressure strategy. Right? We're not trying to advertise and pressure them into a call or pressure them into doing an investment deal with us, right? The newsletter is just giving them information. Next, newsletters. The cool thing about print newsletters is people are willing to give them away. And you see I have in parentheses, just like books. So this is why I like these strategies that I do, because they have a lot of staying power. Not a lot of people print out, right, or even forward your newsletters. They don't do that. However, many people will take a stack of newsletters or an actual physical newsletter and they'll give it away. I'm going to show you a little bit later how you can make people want to give these away with some of the stuff that you put inside of the newsletter. So digital newsletters, it's not all negative about digital newsletters, but I want to highlight some things. So yes, digital newsletters are typically inexpensive. You can send them more frequently. However, one of the things is that people's email addresses change, right? They change often. And another thing, like I'm pretty sure most of us here, people have multiple email addresses. People have multiple email addresses. And next, it's difficult to get people to consume large quantities of information via digital screens, right? Just recently, I ran a workshop, a book writing workshop, and I was doing some research on that. And physical books outsell ebooks 4-to-1. Surprisingly, 4-to-1. Print books, people still want print and actual physical things. And guess who's leading the charge on that? It is millennials and Gen Z. They're still buying physical books. Despite what they say about technology and how we love technology, they're leading the charge and they're still buying actual physical books. So I'm emphasizing the importance of sending people actual physical things. Everyone else is sending out digital newsletters, right? So you can still do that, but I want you to take it to the next level by going physical. Next, your newsletter, right? Like nobody wants to just open up, typically don't want to just open up news, right? From a newsletter on your email. You have to really entice them with your subject line with a digital newsletter. With the physical newsletter, not so much. They're looking forward to opening that. It's from one of my mentors. His name's Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy calls it the Christmas morning effect. We as human beings, we like to open stuff up. Right. And that's why you can see my newsletters, they come in a physical envelope because people like to open things. Right. When you do that on a computer, it's not the same. You don't have the same experience. So digital newsletters, they don't have nearly the same impact as physical and print newsletters. Now, print newsletters, pros and cons, right? Some stuff, they cost a little bit more. And that's why our theme today is called investing. Because you're investing into your customers, you're investing into your prospects, right? Print newsletters, they require intention, right? So you can't just send these out willy-nilly and people don't just end up on your list out of nowhere, right? I'm big on inbox zero. And I don't know, so many people have acquired my email address. I just given up. I just given up on unsubscribing people because it's exhausting. It's a lot. Your print newsletter, they stand out. They stand out in that pack of mail, right? They stand out because you're not competing with 50 to 100 emails a day, right? You're maybe competing with 5 to 10 pieces of mail per day when it's physical. They get open. So people open these things. And especially when you see how some of the strategies, some of the things that I put into it, people get eager to open your newsletters. It also lets people know that you're not a fly-by-night business. You're a real business. Print versus digital. How would you feel if someone just sent a happy birthday through email? It will feel automated. It will feel impersonal. When you do it through mail, right, directly to their mailbox, it's starting to feel more personal. Okay, this person thought about me. They sent me a happy birthday. They sent me a happy Mother's Day, right? Newsletters can do that, right? You can do that. Which one shows more care, thought, and concern? It is the physical newsletter, not the digital. So, how do you structure your newsletter? Here's how you do it. You set goals and you set objectives, right? So you see on the right, this is my newsletter. I'm setting goals, I'm setting objectives. I want people to be on my list so they can get my businesses, my services, my products. I want them to get information as well. So you set goals. What do you want your newsletter to do? Do you want it to inform, right? Do you want it to be informational? Do you want it to attract leads for you? Do you want it to attract deals and referrals? Do you want it to position you as an expert? These are all different goals, or you can do a combination of these things. But this is how you structure your newsletter. Structure your goals. You set your newsletter up this way. Now, the best strategy. What is the best strategy? People always ask me, can I just go digital, or what? Maybe I should just do physical. The best strategy is hybrid. You want to do both. I want you to do digital as well as physical. And what I want you to do is I want you to break out your digital into smaller bites, right? Break out your digital into smaller bites and use that to invite users to your actual print email, right? So you have a newsletter, you have a digital newsletter, you're going to write that up. And then at the end of your newsletter, in the beginning, you're going to always invite people to your actual print newsletter. Now, what types of information to include in your newsletter? You're going to be shocked, right? So relevant, what does relevant mean? Relevant means direct information about what it is that you do as a business, the informational stuff, the business stuff that we always like to talk about as professionals, right, that are running a business. Your newsletter should only be 40% relevant information. The rest of it should be semi-relevant and non-relevant. And I'm going to show you what these things mean. So relevant is your profession and your expertise. Relevant is the how-to, right? How to invest with your retirement account, how to invest with ABC company. This is the relevant information, right? Why, right? Why you should invest with your retirement account, why you should work with ABC company. You give them tips. This is all relevant stuff to working directly with you. So I work with a lot of agents, right? These, like as an example, agents can do home buying tips, home selling tips, how to be a real estate investor. These are all relevant things. How to work with, right? I said how to work with ABC company. Your local profession or your local market, right? So I get a lot of agents and they give market reports. This is directly business related content. That's all the relevant stuff. However, again, this should not be the only topic in your newsletter because people can get this information from anywhere. How do you make your newsletter semi-relevant? What does this mean? So semi-relevant is you welcome new clients and new customers. You get new subscribers in your newsletter, welcome them. People like to see themselves in print. They like to see themselves spotlighted, right? So on the right, those are examples of new customers, people that have come into my business. In the middle on the right, you see a member spotlight. This is one of my business partners. I spotlight him. This is the newsletter for this month. And he said, oh man, I really appreciate that. People like to see themselves spotlighted, highlighted. They like to see their names, right? Team member spotlights, client and customer spotlights, Q&A. This is all semi-relevant information. Testimonials, semi-relevant, right? It's not directly relevant to what it is that you do as a business person. Next, what you miss. So put inside items of what they missed in your business, what they missed in the last newsletter, what they missed on a webinar. These are all things that you can include inside your newsletter. And can you imagine receiving an email with all of this information? It can be very long and overwhelming, right? The physical newsletter makes it more easy to digest. Non-relevant information. This is the best part because you're going to be, people love this. When you get contacted about your newsletter not going out, people contact you about this information, the non-relevant. So you see on the right, this is one of our newsletters just open up. You can see some games in there. You see a Sudoku puzzle, a real estate Sudoku puzzle. And then you also see word scramble, real estate word scramble, right? People are not getting these things. You can't do this with a digital newsletter. And people appreciate these things. They take their time, they actually do these puzzles, right? And you can run contests. You can do many things with this, but this is what separates. You can't really do this online. It doesn't have the same effect. There you go. That's a word search that I have inside of one of my newsletters. Can't do a word search online, not the same way. Next, dad joke and mom joke of the month. So I just contacted the client and I said, are you getting the newsletter? She said, yes. I look forward to looking at the dad jokes and the mom jokes in that newsletter. So this is all non-relevant information that you can include inside of your newsletter, and this separates you and makes you stand out compared to everyone else. So Fun stuff, events, calendar items, games and puzzles, photos, contests, seasonal and holiday information. This is the stuff that you include inside of your newsletter. And this is what makes your newsletter different, right? So marketing strategies, how to use your newsletter to market. Here's what you do. Give a stack of them, right? Get them printed out, give a stack to local businesses or national businesses. Send some to certain businesses. Let the business, hey, I'll feature you inside of my newsletter. Give these away for me as an example, right? Have a stack in your house or business to give away. Like always have some around so you can give them away to people. Give something for somebody to do, right? Remember, there's puzzles and games. You might have people where you see and they have kids. You can tell, hey, I got some games in here the kids might enjoy. Okay. Offer to spotlight other businesses and other people inside of your newsletter. This is a way to add more content to your newsletter. Pack them up in an envelope, right? So we're doing this, and this stuff is all fun, but we still want to gain business. However, we don't want to be 100% business. So one of the key components of your newsletter is to pack them up in an envelope so you can add other things to your newsletter. You're still running a business and you still want to gain clients, right? So a good example is you send out this newsletter and you can include a voucher to have a consultation with you. You can include a voucher for them to join your list to invest in a certain project. Those are some strategies that you can employ with your newsletter, right? Fast implementation strategy. So how do we do this? What do you need for implementation? This is what you need. You need content, right? So what it is that you talk about, your expertise, your profession, you need that kind of content. You need news. So you can go to Google or you can think about news in your area and you put that inside of your newsletter. Media, video, text, audio, you can put all this stuff inside of your newsletter. Pictures, right? Include a lot of pictures. Sometimes people are like, I can't fill up a newsletter. Listen, you can do a lot with some pictures to include inside your newsletter. I recommend how to implement these newsletters. I recommend that you use Google Slides. Use Google Slides. It's fairly easy to use and it's fairly easy to share. And then next, for anybody that's a little more advanced, you can use Canva to do the same thing. Now, suggestion for fast implementation, your newsletter does not have to be long. I have some clients, they send out 4-page newsletters. That's it, 4 pages. I have some clients that send out 1-page newsletters. And the key here is, yes, you want to include some information that's relevant and that information that people can consume. However, what's more important than the newsletter being full of content is you touching and you persistently following up with that customer prospect that was interested in doing business with you in the first place, right? And by doing this, you do this 12 times per year, which is 1 time per month. You're following up persistently and consistently. You don't have a lot to think about. You send out 1 newsletter per month, right? So use Google Slides. It doesn't have to be long. Add content. Download that as a PDF and share that PDF document to a printer, right? Get it printed and shipped out to the respective people on your list that you've built. Printing and postage. So I just wanted to show what does this all cost, right? Because we're talking about investing in profitable persistence, profitable relationships, right? So newsletter, you can see on the side, that's one of my latest receipts. Newsletters cost $1.48 to print, right? A mail merge fee, this is a miscellaneous fee, but my printer charges $10 for a mail merge fee. The envelopes, color envelopes, they cost me 35 cents. The fulfillment fee, they charge 15 cents per newsletter, they cost 15 cents. Postage is the most expensive. This costs me $1.98. And in total, it takes me $3.96 to invest in a customer or prospect. Okay, so in total, grand total is $48 for 1 customer or prospect. What is a deal worth to you? Is a person worth, like what you're doing, are they worth $50, right? For you to invest and you to touch on them, you to nurture them and build a relationship. Are they worth $47.52? Most people, yes, right? Because it's gonna pay off, and every person that invests with you, they'll bring more people and more people and more people. So I want you to think about this: investing in customer relationships, right? This is an investment. It costs you $48 total, right? Maybe it could cost you less to invest in that relationship. Again, is an investment deal worth $48 to you? So what if you could make this unlimited? All right, I'm going to blast through and show you how you can make this unlimited. Here's how you do that. Remember that picture I showed you a little bit earlier? This is how you do that, right? So you have something that you want to subscribe them to. and this is how it works, right? This is a landing page, and this is what it looks like. You have something, right? It could, in my case, I like to have people publish books, right? They buy a book and they pay $20, right? So that, guess what? You got $20 that you can reinvest back into your business. Then one of the next things I like to do is I like to encourage what is called the order bump. And think about an order bump as when you're checking out in McDonald's or you're checking out at the supermarket and you pick up that candy bar or that juice or that soda on the side, you send them an order bump, right? So you have something that you can give or deliver to them. It doesn't have to be a book. I just like books. And then you order bump them. Hey, do you want fries with that, right? In my case, I'm giving them a book and then I'm giving them an audiobook. An audiobook bundle is what I'm giving them. So they come in, they purchase a book for $5, maybe $20, and boom, I got them on my list, right? And that means, guess what? I got $20 where I can reinvest back into my business. Then I order bump them and I sell them something else. Maybe I sell them another, the audiobook for $20. So they have invested $40 into me, right? Gross. And that means I have $40 to play with, gross. But here's where the magic starts to happen. You can then start to upsell them other things, other services, right? So in this case, I'm going to use a course as an example. So I'm selling a course for $50 and they buy the course. Now they've invested $100 total gross. And guess what? I have $100 that I can invest back into that customer or that prospect. Now, what's next? I can offer them another upgrade for $50 again. So now if they come through and they take me up on all of my offers, I have $150 that I can reinvest back into that customer or prospect. All right, they've come in, they spent money, they spent $150 with me on the low side, right? So I'm going to take $50 of that $100, and I'm actually making a profit. It's $100 left over where I can send them some other things if I wanted to. But they've come in, and in a way, they're paying for their own marketing. They're paying for their own advertising because they've come in and they've purchased some things from me, and I'm going to reinvest back into them. So I'm going to reinvest that $150 back into that customer prospect, and I'm going to send them 12 newsletters. I'm going to send them 12 newsletters because I have $50 where I can send out those 12 newsletters. So that is how you do it. Furthermore, right, that is just the newsletter and that is just a follow-up, right? So they're going to be on your list and you're going to follow up with them consistently for 12 months. However, you can now, because you've collected their information and they've invested, you can still offer them what it is that you want to do, right? You can have them schedule a call, schedule a consultation, or you can call them or contact them directly. So this is how you do it, and I call this the unlimited marketing money strategy. This is how you get people onto your list and invest in them, and have them invest, and you invest back into them unlimited. Okay. So if you need ideas, recycle past content, research marketing content, use some of those emails that you're sending already if you have a newsletter, use social media, come up with market reports, summarize different information out there and available, rewrite content. One of the things that I really love right now is ChatGPT. So you can rewrite your content with ChatGPT and think about ChatGPT as an assistant, not just a content creator, and use it to improve and enhance your content. Lastly, photos go a long way. You don't have to have a lot of content, so don't be afraid to use photos to put in your newsletter. Conclusions and final thoughts. Be consistent, be different, don't be cheap, invest in your business and your clients, persist, and keep in mind that you will be handling their assets that are worth tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right, so if you found value today, the best thank you would be a testimonial, and I'm going to tell you how you can deliver that testimonial right now. So send an honest testimonial. Tell me your biggest takeaway or your favorite part about the training. Tell me what you would say to anyone considering attending the training, and you can send over that information to the email address here, and that email address is Jerome@digitalrealestatestrategy.com. This is also how you collect the slides. So once you send me that honest feedback and once you send me that honest testimonial, I will send you the slides with all of the bonus resources for you to have access to, including where you can get your newsletters printed and other relevant information. So what are the next steps? Here are your next steps. Go check out the podcast that I've done with Corey. It is on my YouTube channel. Check out the Alternative Investing Advantage, episode number 59, where I go into a little more detail on how you can implement these strategies and the importance of having a book as an expert on authority. And don't be afraid to check out the video podcast on my channel as well from Advanta. So again, here are the next steps. Send an honest testimonial. Tell me your biggest takeaway. and tell me what you would say to anybody considering attending the training. And you can send it right to the email address that you see on the screen, which is Jerome@digitalrealestatestrategy.com. Now, I know that I moved a little bit fast because, like I said, I want to deliver as much information as possible. So I highly encourage you and urge you to collect this slide presentation and watch the recording along with it. Okay, Corey?
Oh, there we are. Yeah, Jerome, if you want to keep your email address on there, I'll go through
Okay.
the question or two that we have right now. If anyone does have any final questions before we close the session for today, please feel free to add those to the question box and I will address that with Jerome. Here's a question that we had that came in a little bit after we were talking about mail, email versus print mail, and also kind of relates to one of the last topics you hit here towards the end as well. The question reads, I frequently receive requests from people I first met to represent them to find deals. However, they just use me to collect information, not really intending to deal. If I go straight forward and ask for proof of funds or to sign a service agreement, would that ruin potential client relationships? So I guess to pivot that and just kind of bring it home with Jerome's expertise, what are you looking for in a reciprocal relationship as you're kind of finding those potential people to add to your mailing list or people to send out packages to? Are you looking to actually get something that you're receiving back, or a hard closed client, or just to actually expand your network as well?
Is you're asking me that, Corey?
Yeah, I was taking the question from the client and just kind of expanding it with my own portion of that
Okay.
question as well. So the client's direct question was, if I go straight forward and ask for proof of funds or service agreement, would it ruin the potential relationship? And my follow-up to that as well is just with your expertise, Jerome, what type of relationship, or what are the basics of that relationship you're trying to build as the person setting up the marketing content and sending out and trying to build that network?
So this is like this question, and the answer could go any way. The person that's asking, like, I kind of think that's like more of your expertise what they're asking. But what I would do, like, I guess I could make a suggestion is like this newsletter is to help you build relationships. And it's for you to invest in your customers and prospects. So whatever your goal is, like I showed on that particular slide, whatever your goal and whatever your objective is, that's what you want to make. You want to set your newsletter up to do. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question, but like what I do with my newsletter is, and I have like my clients, we all like different people have different objectives. My objective with my newsletter is I want to inform my audience, and I also have products that I offer. I have products and services that I have inside of my newsletter. So I include those things, but the biggest thing that I'm doing here, and the biggest thing that we should all be focused on, in my opinion, is building a relationship, building and investing in a relationship. This way, like we're not worrying about people undercutting or taking deals. It's like in building a relationship, if you build a strong relationship with somebody, they're not likely to undercut you or do those things. You start to understand and know each other. So that's the best answer that I can give, because I'm not exactly sure what the first part of the question was and how to answer that.
Yeah, I think it's more so just that the person that posed the question is kind of insinuating they're building the relationships, but it doesn't seem like they're reciprocating value. So they're building a relationship and they're being leveraged for the value they're bringing, but the person on the other end of the relationship isn't really bringing any value or actually doing any transactions or providing any value to the person that asked the question. So if that be the case, there is a context, as Jerome mentioned, of building the relationships, but also setting aside when you know that the relationship's not going to be prosperous for you any further, and kind of letting it be at that, if that's as far as the relationship is going to build to be. That would be my personal opinion added to it. And with that, we are about 5 minutes past 1 o'clock Eastern time here. So I think we will get wrapped up. Everyone's had plenty of a chance to get Jerome's email address here to reach out to him for the slides and for further information about what he offers as a digital real estate expert in networking and sorry, I'm losing my words here. Networking and marketing strategist. So Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, need the slide deck, or any further information is required of you from Jerome. He is a wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience and networking as well. So I'm sure that he'll be able to help you with whatever needs you may have. Jerome, thank you so much for participating today and for bringing all this education and information to our audience. I think your examples, your case study, your background, and everything will paint a great picture for our audience and help them learn that anyone can do these things, like you said. Anyone can really take control of their interests and actually utilize it and leverage it to get themselves into a better position, into better deals, into being more prosperous in general in life. So thank you very much, Jerome, for joining us today. And any final words for the audience yourself?
No, thank you, Corey. I appreciate you having me. And for the audience, it's just profitable persistence. I think Corey helped me pick that name, and keep that in mind. You're investing in a relationship, and it's just a relationship. It's not always black and white, but it's worth it, right? You never know how people are going to approach you, and this is like a really good strategy. You offer value, they offer value. Like, remember, you're investing, so it's give and take. Don't be all about take. And if somebody's not like that last question, if somebody's not investing back into you, like, try to get clear and find out. But typically people come to you when they're ready. And if you're sending out, like what I told you today, send it out and you're implementing these strategies, they will come to you. Just be persistent.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you, everyone that participated today. Hope you have a great one, and check us out next time. If you are someone waiting for the recording, the recording will be out within about 1 day on our YouTube channel. But again, reach out to Jerome for your own copy of the slides as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.